And welcome back to the OHIO podcast and our new intro video. Thank you so much to So High, the band right here from the Buckeye State with their song Bucknut. They gave us permission to use that. We wanted to drop that all to you tonight because, guys, we're celebrating our 6th year anniversary here at the OHIO podcast. Do us a big favor, everybody. And if you haven't already, smash that like button. We absolutely appreciate that. Please, tonight, chat, get active, man. The chat is on fire already. We appreciate each and every single one of you who are in the chat tonight. And let's share the show. If you're watching on Twitter, let's share that show. Share it on your socials. We appreciate each and every single one of you tonight. Let's go ahead and introduce tonight the panel for all of you. In just 1 second, I got to add our guest back here real fast. Won't take me very long to do so, but we will have that for you here literally right now. There we go. So with us tonight's the home team. We've got Cory below me. Diagonal to me is Chris, and we got Pigskin Pete, Peter Bartell with us this evening. Welcome, Pete, to the OHIO podcast, my man.
Thank you. Good to be with you guys. OHIO.
There you go. Chris, I can tell you're already upset with me.
What in the blue hell were you thinking, Eric? What were you thinking with that picture? That thing is the oldest, worst picture of myself and Bobby both. You don't have to worry about me. Bobby's coming to get you now. She sees that picture. She's coming to get you.
I didn't have an updated picture of you and Bobby. I looked. I tried. You never posted nothing, dude.
And after I paid homage to you today.
What is this?
Wearing my Podfather hood, a sweatshirt, you go and put a picture of me and Bobby on there that has to be at least 6 or 7 years old.
You guys look so young.
She is just now. You should see her face right now, Eric. She just walked in.
Bobby, I love you. I love you, girl.
Oh yeah. She's going back to her phone right now to find the beginning of this show.
Oh no. Good to have all of you with us tonight in the chat. We appreciate each and every single one of you. We're going to have a great show tonight, guys. And so we got some amazing topics. We want you all to participate in the chat with us as well. And if you guys want to throw us a super chat tonight, since it is our birthday and our anniversary month, we're going to be celebrating big time on Thursday for the call-in show. But before we do that, we have an announcement. Chris, 2 things. Number 1, show everybody the shirt again.
This is available on the store at the OHIOpodcast.com. We have this available in both the sweatshirt that I'm styling as well as a t-shirt.
There you go, dude.
Free shipping for the Podsquad, by the way.
There you go. Free shipping for the Podsquad members. Got it, man. And tomorrow night, what else is going to be happening, Chris?
Well, we're going live for the first of my regular shows, as Dr. Cory is going to be taking his show on the road, so to speak. He's going to be dropping his in at a different time slot, and I'm going to be sliding into that 8 p.m. time slot with our second live call-in show that we're going to be having weekly.
There you go. So tomorrow night at 8 o'clock will be Chris's new call-in show for all of you, and then Dr. Cory is going to be making house calls. So be on the look at that, man. Be on the lookout for that. Before we dive into our first topic, Pete, why don't you tell everybody about your channel, where they can find you, man, what you do?
Yeah, thank you. So my channel is Pigskin Petey Podcast on YouTube. On X, you can see it at Pigskin Petey right there. I like to talk about college football as a whole. I'm just a fan, like we all are, right? My allegiance is Syracuse. I'm originally from upstate New York, Rochester. Grew up with season tickets to Syracuse football in the 90s. But my written work is available at SaturdayBlitz.com, part of Bandsided. I write for them too. So again, just a college football fan, like to have fun. You'll see me tweeting about my dogs, sports, anything in between on X. So
hey, Eric, and can I just say, I just watched a video that Pigskin Petey dropped there about one Caleb Downs, and it was a good one.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Pick for the Heisman defensive, right? Do you guys see anything to that? I think that's really going to become a trend since Travis Hunter, I'll say, re-kick started it. We won't say the CW word for Michigan in the 90s, but I think it'll become a trend again. Two-way players.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I loved your take on that. I think it's something that I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. And something you mentioned,
Yeah.
he doesn't have to be Jeremiah Smith because we've got Jeremiah
Right.
Smith.
That's it.
So that makes it a lot easier.
Isn't he?
That's right. Brandon Ennis,
If you used him on offense, knock on wood, I would love to see it. Do you? I presumed it would be wide receiver, as Chris kind of said. Do you guys presume it would be wide receiver?
I think it'd be a Swiss Army knife, Xavier
yeah.
Johnson type role if they used him like
An
some
H-back.
running back, yeah, exactly. He's too good to only have like put him in the slot or something like that. You got to give him the ball, get the ball in his hands, let him get him in space.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like Curtis Samuel came to my mind too. If that would be a good Swiss Army knife comp.
Exactly.
Okay.
And playing defense, oh my goodness, he might be a lock for the Heisman if he pulls that off.
Well, I said it in my pot. Like, if you can start for Nick Saban's Alabama as a true freshman, which he did, you're a stud, and he continued to stud at Ohio State. So, I'd love to see it.
We're still thanking Nick Saban for retiring.
I don't know that you would have to play offense as long as you made a huge impact on special teams, along with being the best safety in the country. Which he did in the Indiana game. He just, Ryan Day's philosophy on special teams is to be a lot more conservative than it is to be aggressive. But you never know. Ryan Wickerham in the house. Ryan, I did get your text. Thank you so much for the good news about the possible summer camp again that we were a part of last year. We would love to be a part of that again, Ryan. Thank you so much. All right, let's dive into our topics tonight, guys. And let's start here, man. So I want to explore where expectations come from in the sense of Ohio State and beyond for programs. We'll take Ohio State to start off here, and then we'll dive into maybe beyond Ohio State and look at some of the other programs. And since we have Pigskin Pete with us, maybe we'll just use Syracuse, for instance.
Yeah.
So there was a debate that I caught wind of, and we've kind of dabbled in this topic before, but there was a debate that I caught wind of this week, and I thought this is no better time than now to explore this. Where do the expectations for Ohio State come from? Do they come from the fan base, or are those expectations set by somebody else, something else, i.e. the program, the coaching staff, the players? Where do the expectations at Ohio State originate from? Cory, I will start with you this evening and give you the floor first here.
I was about to say the fan base, but it's really a combination of everything. And I hate that it's not trying to be a cop out, but Ryan Day, his first press conference saying win every game, win the title, all this. And then, of course, you have the fact that Ohio State's arguably probably not even arguably, the most consistent football program in the last 30 years of college football. So, we're used to a certain standard at Ohio State now, and more so than like a program that, flares up now and again. And then, of course, it is sometimes, I think the fans just, excuse me for saying this, generally think they know better than everybody else on the staff or everybody in the program. If Ryan Day went 10-2 last year, lost to the team up north, and I was ready to get rid of him. And I admit I fall to that too, because the standard is so freaking high at Ohio State, but it's set by every level of fanhood to the administration, to the coaching staff, everywhere. And you're constantly inundated by it because they have to push it too, because they want you to buy tickets, they want you to buy merchandise, they want you to do everything you can to support them financially. So that being said, I just think it's top bottom.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree with Cory. It's multifaceted. Obviously, the coaching staff has a big part of that. You go back, I think in a sense, all of the coaches have been trying to measure themselves up against Woody Hayes since, they started there. From Ryan Day to Urban, Urban was one of the biggest ones when it came about being outspoken about his expectations for his teams. Jim Tressel comes to that basketball game and sets an expectation for this team, this monstrous expectation right out of the gate. So the coaches obviously have a big part of that. But then, we have perhaps, for better or worse at times, and like Cory said, I have to include myself in this, the most lunatic bipolar fan base in all of college football. Because we do set expectations so high for this team that when they even falter a little, we sometimes go over the deep end. And the media feeds into the fan base without a doubt, or into the expectations without a doubt. So, I mean, you look at this, there's no one point that it comes from. But I would also say, if you look back to last season's team, as much as anything, I thought the players set the expectation, Eric. When Denzel comes back and says, we're back here to win a national title, it's natty or bust. When Jack Sawyer says, I came back for these reasons, to beat Michigan, win a Big Ten, win a national title, the players, as much as the coaches and the fans, set the expectation. So I don't think you can pinpoint one group that does this for Ohio State. I think we all feed off of each other. And sometimes I think we take it to an unrealistic level.
Petey, your turn, my man.
Man, Cory, I love the Woody Hayes shout out as like, this is where it started all the way back then. I fully agree. Kudos. That's spot on. I looked back at their record history. You all know Ohio State better than I do. Since 2002, you all have had two seasons. One I'm not even counting because it's 2011 with Bickle, right? When that whole thing with Tressel happened and Bickle got inserted. The other season was 2004 when Tressel went 8-4. Every other season, you've had double-digit wins. That's automatically setting a precedent, which deservedly so. I think you guys should have that mindset. You're spoiled, and I like to see it. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's an unfair expectation. I think, to answer the question, the expectation is as the program, like one of the three options Eric laid out. I think it's just the program. We've been successful. Looking back even further than Woody Hayes, the coach, I'm not going to, this is pre-Big Ten days, right? Like the Western Conference, I guess it's saying, but like you were traditionally at least 80-90% wins depending on the season most of the time. Like, this is pre-Woody Hayes. So it's just a mindset that's been ingrained in you all. As talking Syracuse as a counterexample, our last double-digit win season before this year, which I really don't even count because it was a bowl game that got us to 10, was 2001. And again, that was even because of a bowl game. So we're not used to winning, right? Like, we felt like this year we won the Super Bowl, basically. But on the counter, yeah, you're right. I think it's just the program, to answer the question.
John Schrock points out 2 losing seasons in 50 years.
That's impressive.
That's insane. That's insane.
That's a recipe for spoiling a fan base right there.
Yeah, absolutely. $50.
Man, now I can't even talk trash about the team up north. Dang it. Look what you're doing. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'll tune in tomorrow. I'll get my fix in there.
Lisa says we don't know what a true down year is like as Buckeye fans. We can't imagine ever having a season like FSU just had. We can't. 2011, like you brought up, Petey, was it is held in such disdain in this fan base. And Sean brought it up. Paul Brown was the first one to win a national championship, 1942 it was. But even Paul Brown, although, had that successful season in our first national championship, as a program, it really was ushered in, I believe, by Woody Hayes. Winning 5 national championships, the expectations of competing each year, every single year, and it became a snowball effect, right? And so the question is this: who set those expectations at first? I have to believe the first expectation that was set came from Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
And then the fan base accepted those expectations based off the tremendous success he had, which is one of the reasons why I believe all the old timers who remember Woody Hayes will hold him in such high esteem. Do you guys agree or disagree with that assessment? Cory, go for it, man. You agree?
Yeah, I think that's because he was. I mean, yeah, there were successful seasons and coaches before Woody, but Woody obviously is the standard at Ohio State. That's just obvious. So yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree that after Woody, I mean, I know Earl Bruce was the coach after Woody, but I mean, Earl wasn't a bad coach, but man, he wasn't Woody. Imagine coming after that, just like, and it's like, look, it's hard enough coming after a guy like Urban Meyer, who's a legend. Coming after Woody Hayes, 5-time national champion, at Ohio State. My gosh,
Yeah.
I'd be like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Wait till the next guy.
Earl Bruce, dude. God bless you, man.
Yeah.
Good
So,
night.
Eric, I say all that to say, yeah, I think you're 100% right.
Do y'all remember what they called Earl, right? What his nickname was, right?
Oh, 9-3, I think.
9-3 Earl.
9-3 Earl. Yeah.
Petey, do you think a coach that coached Syracuse for 10 plus years,
give it to me. Give it to me.
9-3 coach, like you all would be like, yes, sir, we'll sign up for that, right?
Glass overflowing, yes, 100%.
Yeah. So those expectations, right, that have been, I think, ingrained in us, like indoctrinated in us, part of our DNA, right? Like I, as a Buckeye fan, I was born, Cory, you the same way. Chris, I assume you were the same way too, man. We were born into this thing with those expectations, right? Like, you're a fan of Ohio State? Here are the expectations. And here comes Ryan Day, which I think you mentioned, Cory, in his presser, who was like, I know what the expectations at Ohio State are, to beat the team up north and win every game after that. That was his quote, not mine. That was his. And so those expectations are what they are. But now here's the question. So let's take it one step further. Now that those expectations have been generationally passed down, keeping those expectations becomes kind of it's a catch-22, because if you don't meet them, all of a sudden you suck, right? And that's not true either, okay? Like Ryan Day has the greatest winning percentage since Nuke Rockney, okay, in 6 years. And Cory, you and I, and we jumped on Chris's train here. We were ready to fire him after November 30th, man. Speak to that, Cory.
Well, that is also cumulative because he had lost the previous 3.
Sure.
And I know there's a little bit of story around that. Who knows what will happen, but that, I will admit, that was cumulative for losing. I mean, because this was the year, like, you're favored by 20, you're at home. This was the obvious year you get revenge, and he didn't. And yeah, we went right along with Chris and said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. This is ridiculous. He's never going to win anything here, because he hadn't won anything of significance in 4 years, and that's the standard at Ohio State. Not just winning a lot of games. You got to win trophies and put rings on fingers, and he wasn't doing that, except for the Rose Bowl in 2021, which is good, but it wasn't a playoff. And so, yeah, I was finally fed up. I was leaning that way. He could have kept me off of that wagon if he'd have crunched the team up north like he should have. We lose 13-10, which makes 0 sense. And yeah, I didn't expect anything for the playoff, but we all said it. We all said it. Caveat: if he goes into the playoff and he has to win a natty now to win us back, and well, he kind of did. So.
Yeah, Chris, I'm going to ask you this question from Aaron, because this is right up, I think, your alley, because you're a big NFL guy too. Do you think, he says, do you all think it's because the rest of Ohio teams don't win a lot, but Ohio State has always won?
I think that's where the passion from the fan base comes from, and maybe even a little bit from the media. We haven't seen the Browns, win in, my God. I mean, they've never been to a Super Bowl. Back in the old NFL days is the last time the Browns won a championship. And then you look at the Bengals and, I mean, come on, we've got the Bungles, the mistake on the lake, and the Buckeyes. Where do you think the expectations are going to lie?
Yeah.
And I'm a Browns fan. I'm a diehard Browns fan, and I pray they get one before I die, but I'm not holding my hopes up.
Yeah.
Eric, you're a Bengals fan. You've suffered long as I have.
Mm-hmm.
But the Buckeyes are the constant. They're the reliable ones. They're the ones that over the last 3 decades have brought us 3 championships in the last 25 years. They're the ones that if we go back, we suffered through the Cooper years. We suffered a little bit through the Bruce years, but then you go back to Woody and the 5 championships. If you look at this team, since 1948, this team has been, no matter what the people from the state of North want to say, this team has been the flag bearer for this conference since 1948. The expectations are high. They're not going to, and you know what? Even going into next season, Eric, the expectations are going to remain high. I mean, you look at it, CBS Sports has us projected as the odds-on favorite to repeat as national champion, even though we've only got 3 starters coming back on defense, and we only have 2 guys that started the season in their position coming back on offense. Yeah, we got some offensive linemen who played, but only 2 of those guys started 2 guys on offense started their position, or I have backwards.
I think 3, because you got Tate Smith at wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
And then you have, no, I guess
no, because Carson did not start at center.
Correct.
So we only had 2 guys that started
right
in their position coming back.
The left tackle started at Rice, but it's not at Ohio State.
But not at Ohio State.
What about a tight end, Case Merrick?
He won't start next year.
He won't start.
Okay. All right. You're right. Okay. All right.
So you look at this. we are replacing 17 of 22 starters, and the media and Las Vegas have these guys as the odds-on favorite to repeat as national champions.
Bobby Mack brings up a good point. Tegro was a starter here, but we don't know for sure he'll keep his spot.
That's it. We don't know that he's going to be the starter either.
So high. Thanks for using our song on the new intro. Dude, guys, it was fire. Everybody loves it, man. People love the new intro. So thank you so much, So High, for letting us use that. Guys, go check them out. Just go look them up. You can get their music anywhere. You can download music, give them a little jingle in their pocket, and we're in the works. The lead singer and myself have been contacting with one another. We're in the works of doing a joint show down in Southern Ohio. Maybe opening up for them with a little OHIO podcast Buckeye talk, and then they take the stage and rock the house, man. So,
do we get to sing, Eric?
God, we hope not.
Okay, am I the drummer? What's going on here? Okay.
You're the doctor.
Well,
you're going to be there to resuscitate everybody after they hear Chris and I sing.
Oh, nice. Well, I guess I'm busy that day, I think.
Maybe we can get Wargo to come with us, and he can either play the trumpet or sing with us.
There you go. Yeah, $2 super chat from Bobby Mack. How is the Pod Squad family doing tonight? Thank you, Bobby Mack, for that birthday gift. We appreciate that very much, man. Brian Days Beard. Ohio State is Ohio's pro team. Absolutely, yes, Petey, go for it, my man.
I want to comment on, I forget the original point on, was it Woody Hayes 1-5, right?
Yeah.
And therefore that's the precedent. Fully agree. I'll be transparent. I don't just like to say when I was right. I even more so like to shout out when I was wrong. I was not Team Ryan Day when he was hired. I thought that he would live off of Urban Meyer's coattails. And then after 2 or 3 years, the program would regress. I think about a lot of coaches in that situation, like John L. Smith following Bobby Petrino at Arkansas, Butch Davis leaving Miami and Larry Coker following him. Larry won a national title with all of his players, right? So anyways, you get what I'm saying, right? I thought, and I was wrong, we're now 5-6 years in. So at the beginning of this year, I actually went back and did some research on Urban Meyer compared to, because he was a national title winning coach, one of many for you guys, compared to Ryan Day, who has not won a national title. How did their rankings match up? How did their recruiting rankings match up, etc.? Average for their tenures. Obviously, Urban, especially before this season, was at Ohio State, so his average was a little more like solidified by just a few years than Ryan, but I thought Ryan had been there long enough where he could do it. Ryan Day, as I recall, this research is a bit off now because we've had 2025's recruiting class as well. Ryan Day, I believe the average, and I pulled on through, was 3.5 average recruiting class. Urban's was slightly above that at 3.75. So, but that's exactly your point. The thing missing before this season was a national title. And I think that was like, despite everything, despite the rankings, despite, beating Michigan's, early on. And that was it. Beating Michigan consistently and then winning a national title, like none of the other stuff mattered. Double-digit win seasons, etc. So I'm glad that he's over that hump, but you can't. It's very hard to disagree with your point you made, Eric. Like it's what it is. It's the precedent: national title or bust.
Pete, I got to ask you a question, man. As a Syracuse guy, what do you think other fan bases, and you interact with a lot more than we do since your show is broad, national.
Yeah.
What do other fan bases think of our fan base when it comes to how we view the expectations on our program?
Man.
Are we the lunatic fringe?
Yes. Yes. Some I would say, like, I mean, you just said it, Syracuse. I would crave for a 9-3 season. We talked about Earl, right? Like, I think people see it as like, but like, here's the thing: like Georgia and Bama, like those fan bases are with you because they have that level of expectation. LSU, they have that level of LSU's calling for Brian Kelly's head if they don't win this year, despite a massive buyout, right?
Rightfully so.
Mhm.
Right. But that's the thing, like Syracuse, teams like that, which is the majority, like Miami, they want to think that they're, really good. They haven't been good since the mid 90s. They had a decent year this year, right? Like Nebraska, same thing. I think the majority of schools look at you and they're like, yeah, you guys are crazy. Like you're doing amazing. Eventually that will crack and you'll get that national title. And then it happened. So
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's take that point and then we'll close here. So, what programs outside of Ohio State you brought up? Georgia and what was the other one? Bama or no
Bama, I
LSU?
would put there.
Yeah.
LSU, I would put there. I guess I'm being biased towards SEC. Michigan, I would say, would crave to be on your guys' level.
But they're not.
Right.
Okay. No, because they just celebrated a 7-5 season, an 8-5 season, like like they celebrated that thing, which is crazy to me. But okay, so we know USC's not. Their fan base only shows up when they're good. Um, Notre Dame doesn't seem to have that level of expectation on their program anymore either. They used to.
Yeah.
I think some of them want it to be there, but I don't think it's there anymore. That
They're
might
happy
be
they're
it.
good.
What about Clemson? Their fan base has their fan base taken a step back because Dabo Sweeney's kind of returned to the meme and because you get a lot of Dabo defenders in that
Yeah.
fan base.
That's what they're used to is pre-Dabo too, to be fair. They don't have 5 Trestles, Myers, Woody Hayeses before Dabo. They had, I think, Tommy Bowden was one of like the 6 Bowdens. Tommy was there, right? And they've been mediocre for most of their, they did have a legendary coach before Tommy. But they didn't have a run, like a sustained run like you guys did. So yes, Dabo's been great for like a decade, but they're also not like what you would call a blue blood for that exact reason. you know?
Well, I don't know that, and I know we have a Georgia fan in the chat, and I'm probably about ready to make him really mad. I don't consider Georgia a blue blood either.
Ah,
No.
I saw a graphic, and Rick's my guy, so good to see Rick here. Go Dogs! But I saw a graphic that put them third tier, not even second.
I don't think they're third
I
tier,
no.
but
House
they're
Football Frenzy or something was the handle.
interesting.
Oregon's
What about
definitely a blue
Texas?
blood, though.
Hummus Hero says, what about Texas? Their fan base, they do have some serious expectations. They'll cut ties with you as a coach if you don't
Yeah,
win.
churn and burn. Yeah.
Yeah. So, which to me is part of it. When the fan base puts pressure on an administration to fire a coach, even though he's successful, because he doesn't reach the expectations they want, that's what I'm talking about here, right? So I think Texas might be in that category.
I would agree. And Mark Richt, what was he at Georgia for at least a decade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right on Texas, man. Shorter leashes like Tom Herman. He was there for like 4 or 5 years. He seemed to be maybe turning the corner. Charlie Strong is another one. You're right. They cut ties with him quick. Would you put Florida up there?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Because Florida cuts ties pretty quick.
They do, but I think Florida is living in the shadows of Urban Meyer really bad right now.
And Florida fans actually consider Spurrier the better coach than Urban Meyer, which is delusional to me, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oklahoma?
Let me ask you, what about programs that have a great history that haven't been good in a while, like Nebraska?
Nebraska's forgot. It's been they're so far removed that half their fan base doesn't even know what it's like.
I mean, it's true. I don't. I mean, other than the Pete Carroll years, USC, they're considered a blue blood by many because they've had a great history. But really, have they been all that great since the Pete Carroll days?
Yeah, prior to that, you have to go back to what, Robinson?
Yeah,
but that's a different conversation, is it not, Cory? Blue blood versus expectations. Because let's take Nebraska for instance. I think they're a blue blood, but they don't have national championship or bust expectations on their coaches.
They shouldn't anyway.
We went through this a few weeks ago, though, Eric. What is a blue blood? What is a blue? You and I think shot a video on this.
We disagree very, very much so on that, but. Good point. Let's move on. This is a great conversation. We could spend all night on this one, but let's go ahead and move on to our next topic here. Now that Ryan Day's won a national championship, he has been given a grace period by this fan base, and this all relates to the previous topic we just discussed. How long does that grace period last before the seat gets hot again
with our fan base?
No, that's yeah. Okay, so it's a two-part question.
Ask me again December the 1st.
Oh no, Chris. No.
No, I'm not saying he hasn't earned it. I'm just saying, given our fan base, ask me again December
first
1st.
Incompletion against Texas, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. What have you done for me lately? To your point.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. I know he won the Natty, but you got to win these games.
All right, chat. Here we go. It's.
Yeah.
I might run. No, I'm not going to do that. I was going to run over to YouTube and I was going to make a poll, but I'm not.
And I'm going to surprise you, Eric. So.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Should I get my heart medication?
Let's fast forward through this season to November, whatever the game is.
Yeah.
If he loses his 5th in a row, at that point, is the fan base back on the fire Ryan Day train again?
Really depends on the circumstances.
I would agree with that. I mean, if you go in and you lose a close game
and you're 11
in Ann Arbor and you end up making a run in the playoff again, I think that I think what happens if he loses to Michigan again.
Don't say that.
At Michigan. No, I'm just going to tell you. If he loses to them again, but he makes another playoff run, and let's say he goes out and wins another national title.
Right.
I think what everybody is saying, about the insignificance of the game really comes to fruition, and people start to get on board with that. It's just another game.
Yeah. Well, was it last week? Johnny and Cory, or was it 2 weeks ago? I think Johnny said, I would gladly trade a win over that team for a national championship every time. Like, it doesn't, the significance of the game, it is different, but again,
he's going to hear the boo birds, Eric.
Oh yeah.
He's going to hear the boo birds. He's going to hear people being critical. But for me, I look at this and we ask a question, and I don't want to get ahead to the next or where we're headed about, how long should he have before his next one? I'll hold on to that. But I think that he has earned the right to a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
Given the fact that he just made the most significant run in college football history.
Okay. So, Chris, I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
Okay.
Because it's a two-part question, because you have the game and then you have national championship. So at Ohio State, how long of a grace period should you be given before you're asked or expected to win another national championship? Because let's keep in mind, we've only had one coach ever win more than one. That's Woody Hayes. He won 5. No other coach has ever won more than one. Paul Brown won 1. You had Tressel that won 1, Urban Meyer that won 1, and now Ryan Day that won 1. So
but Eric, you go back to that. There's only one active coach or 2 active coaches who have won more than one, correct?
Dabo Sweeney,
and
Kirby Smart.
And Dabo's got to be not hot seat, but maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to get to him here shortly, but
for me, I think you've got to give a 3 to 5 year cushion.
Yeah.
To me, I think he has to have 3 to 5 years, because especially coming off the team we just had, I know expectations are going to be high. I'm going to have high expectations. But we've talked about this. My high expectations are, let's go to 10-2. Let's make the Michigan thing right this year.
Yeah.
Get back in, win that Big Ten title, and let's make a run in the playoffs. I'd love to see us win the Natty again, but let's make a run. And if we do that at 10-2 again this year, making that run, I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be happy if we don't beat the team up north. But he's earned that little bit of grace, that little bit of faith from the fan base. Because, I mean, you look at the coaches who have done this, Eric. Like I said, but there's 2 active. But, I mean, all these other – Nick Saban and Urban Meyer are the only ones who have been recently active.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go back to guys like –
hold on, Jimbo Fisher.
Jimbo Fisher. I always forget about Dumbo.
Right.
But you got to go back to guys like, Frank Leahy and guys like Tom Osborne, to get guys who were winning multiple national championships prior to that little group. So, yeah, I think that we've got to, and I know this is gonna, it sounds hypocritical coming from me, Eric. It really does. Right. But I came out and I admitted I was wrong about Ryan Day. And he has earned that faith, that trust from his fan base at this point. So,
okay, so you said 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. Ryan
Day's beer said 4. What do you think, Petey?
2, depending on factors. This is presuming, knock on wood, that he loses to Michigan again this year, and if he doesn't win the national title. Even if they make it to the national championship, right? I think that's your trump card. You could lose, theoretically, to Michigan every year. How are you going to fire a coach if he keeps winning national titles? 1 out of every 2 years even, right? 3 years if you give him that much, to Chris's point. But I think if you don't do both, that for like a couple years, you're gone. I think what he's done is, you use the word grace period, Chris. That's a perfect word. He's bought himself a grace period with this national title because he lost to Michigan. If he had lost to both, let's say they lost the national title game this past year and they had lost to Michigan, I think he's he's probably still in seat. But then if you lose to Michigan again, like presuming that he, would lose the national title or they wouldn't win it again, he could be out. And another just point I want to bring up, we kind of alluded to this earlier, like pressure you guys put on yourselves and your coaches. There's all this talk about what scenario will Ohio State let Day go. Day can also walk on his own if he wants to at any point. I understand it's a lot to walk away from with the contract. They just extended him as well. He's making a lot of money. But he also, remember, after that Michigan loss, not just himself, but his family, he came out and said, was getting a lot of pressure and a lot of heat. Can you imagine his kids going playing on the playground, going to school, and what they're having to go through? Like, he said he had to hire more security. I mean, that there comes a point, like, money does talk, but there's also mental health, and he's big on that. He's a big advocate for that, proponent of that. And when your family is being threatened, like, and he wasn't the only one. We know about Jack Sawyer, like, couldn't even, go into establishments without being hassled. So I'm just saying, like, there's also that side of the spectrum too. He could leave. NFL team comes calling as a head coach. I actually wrote a podcast. I did a podcast on this. I thought he might leave for Chicago. I really did. Even if they won the national title, just because of the unnecessary pressure and, stuff after the Michigan game that happened. Like, I saw demeanor after that Michigan game, him standing on the field. We all saw it. He was just like stone faced. Mm-hmm. And obviously nobody knows what he's thinking. I'm not a mind reader, but I know after that, I presumed he was feared for his safety a little bit, what repercussions would come of that. So I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer here. I just like to point that out as well, that he also has a choice.
Cory, how many years of a grace period are you given?
It's tough. Depends. It's like saying what is he winning outside of the national title? That's the key component. If he's winning Big Ten titles, if he's back to beating the team up north, then he gets a longer grace period. As long as he's competing to get to the national title, they know that he's a guy who can win it. Mm-hmm. Do you have him in contention every year? And are you beating the team up north and fulfilling those other responsibilities as an Ohio State head coach? If he goes another 4 or 5 years with doing almost like he did this past year of doing nothing of the sort, maybe even losing an embarrassing bowl game here or there, I think you probably get 3 years and your seat gets really hot. I think, man, imagine how hot his seat would have been this year if he didn't win the Natty or didn't go on a run. He'd come into this year. He would have. I still maintain he'd have been fired up Tennessee if he'd have been blown out by Tennessee. But if let's say he gets by Tennessee and they say, nah, we're going to keep him, his seat would be just, blazing going into this year. And it'd been a terrible year for him because all the question marks on the team right now. But I will say that I saw his interview with Colin Cowherd to what Pete was saying. I saw his interview with Colin Cowherd, and Pete, you're absolutely right, by the way. He said that when he got hired by Ohio State to be the head coach, that Nina cried. And they said there's tears of joy. She goes, no, this is the last time our family's ever going to be normal. Because they knew he says I didn't even get it at the time, but she knew at that moment how tough this position is on a family.
Yeah.
And maybe it's starting to catch up to him how tough it really is. But I'll tell you, for him to say something like after losing to the team up north, which obviously is just so deflating for all of Columbus, especially in that situation, we don't get the revenge on Oregon. We don't get to go to the Big Ten title game. We don't even know what's going to happen in the playoff. For him to say, I just got to fight like heck to get out of this. And to do it, I have full faith and confidence in Ryan Day at this point, just because of that statement alone. The dude didn't give up, didn't quit, said, "Screw it, I'm leaving. We're gonna go. We're gonna go out there, make a run, and go win a natty." And he did it. And I'm like, you know what? If anybody can turn this rivalry around, get us back to the Big Ten title, get us back competing for national titles year after year. I'm not saying win them year after year. That's ridiculous. But competing, getting to the second and third round of the playoffs every, most years. It's Ryan Day at this point. He's got my full faith because of those statements alone.
Tressel coached for 10 years. He won one national championship in year number 2.
Mm-hmm. Went to 3 though.
But he played in 3 national championships. Now the difference in this equation than the equation that you can apply to Tressel or the equation that you could apply to Urban Meyer or even the equation that you apply to Woody Hayes, is that the eras of the postseason are very different.
Mhm.
Woody Hayes didn't have a postseason; he had a bowl game. You win 10 games, and then you go to a bowl game. They didn't even have a Big Ten championship. Same thing with Tressel. Tressel didn't have. Tressel had the BCS, right?
Yeah.
Urban Meyer had the playoff, but it was a 14 playoff. A 12-team playoff, I think, changes the equation a little bit here, because I believe getting to the playoff is the expectation at Ohio State. Like, if you don't get to the playoff every single year, that's when I think the fan base is going to be very chirpy.
Hey,
It's an
Eric.
NFL model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can answer for you right now. When the furthest date out from now, when Ryan Day wins the national title, it's 2 years, because we won the first 4 team, we won the first 12 team, and we're gonna win the first 16 team.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we do. We're innovators.
I wish they would change it every year now. Just keep adding teams. Make it 112. by
Hey,
the end of
Adam,
the
take them
year.
away. I don't care what you do. Just change that number every year, and we got this thing.
That's funny. I saw that. I did not. I'm sure you guys realized it right away. When I saw it on social, I was like, "Dang, that's crazy."
We keep validating the new system.
With a third string QB, so it's like legitimate.
Yeah. Right. This is fascinating to me, because if you take into account where Ryan Day was and where he is, and then you gauge the pulse of this fan base, things can change very quickly. All right. But I look at it like, and I think, Chris, you alluded to this, I don't have national championship or bust expectations on this year's team.
No.
I just
No.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
They lost way too much, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part, the fan base, although there are some of them who are like, hey, we're the next dynasty of college football because Nick Saban's not around. And I would love for that to happen. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that the odds or the chances of that happening are very good, because I just don't think in this college football era, like you said, Petey, that is the NFL model now. You're going to have consistent dynasties a la Alabama, right? And so I look at this and say, okay, my expectations for this season are, if you can get to 10-2 and get back into the playoffs, job well done. And on top of that, I want to beat the team up north. That's what I want. I think you said that, Chris. Like,
Yeah.
that was what you wanted to see, Ryan. And I want that for Ryan Day more than myself at this point.
Well, Eric, he's changed the narrative about everything else.
Right.
He couldn't win the big game. He was what, 2-5 going into last year against top 5 teams. He's got a winning record against top 5 teams. Couldn't win a national title. He won a national title. That Michigan thing is the only thing still hanging over his head. I want him to fix that. And like you said, as much for him as for anybody. But this is the other thing. You mentioned how we have somewhat tempered expectations for next year. But you look at the media, and CBS Sports specifically. I told you earlier that they were the odds-on favorite to win again. The media likes to call us out as the lunatic fringe, Eric.
Yeah.
But then they perpetuate it. They poke the bear.
Sure.
They're what caused us to go nuts.
The devil made us do it.
Peter, I saw you writing some notes down, man. Do you have any last thoughts about this topic?
Yeah, Mike Tomlin talking NFL model, right? I think that's a perfect example of team first round exit with the Steelers, and then it's a little less recent. But didn't Marvin Lewis have good playoff appearances, like not good as in made it far, but a good number of playoff appearances for the Bengals. And then eventually they were like, yeah, we're sick of just losing early, but it took forever for that to happen. And Tomlin is still there. And they haven't won since what? Was it 2006 with Roethlisberger? Like forever ago. The Super Bowl, which is their trophy.
He has been there like 20 years, hasn't he?
So yeah, I think like and I agree on the, this ain't gonna be like a dynasty anymore. I think Georgia, had it stayed the same, was the next dynasty, and that's obviously, I think it's out, and it's just is what it is. It's funny, like using an SEC example, knowing and interacting with those fan bases. Like I hear on podcasts all the time, oh, the SEC had a down year in 2023. You guys remember that was the narrative. Now this year, again, second year in a row, they don't make the national title. They don't have a single team in it. And again, 2024, oh, this was a down year. No, I think we're done with down years. I think it's exactly what you're saying, is that college football's just changed. NIL parity, guys, it is what it is. Quinshon Judkins up and transferred to a Big Ten school. Evan Stewart up and transferred to a Big Ten school.
Seth McLaughlin
just transferred to Michigan right away. These are guys that would have had to stay in seat at their schools or lose a year of athletic eligibility. It's just fact. It's not anybody hating on any conference or any dynasty. You're right. It's an NFL model.
You brought up Georgia. Let's go there. Let's go there.
Let's get there really fast. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, when I was driving through Georgia on the freeway, they had a sign that said tolls, like it was cash, easy pass, Bulldogs. And I thought, what the? What's going on?
Great. Well, they got their own lane. They got to keep those guys as far away from the other traffic as possible.
Right? Yeah. Okay. How many more years does the Georgia fan base give Kirby before he's on the hot seat? Yes, he has 2. But how many more years is that going to be, Pigskin Petey? We'll ask you first, man.
I've not brought this up yet, Eric, because I thought it was crazy even thinking it. Thank you so much for bringing it up. I thought, there's going to come a point, right? I think it's 2 more years, presuming they don't win it this year. So technically 1 more year. Let's say they don't win it all this year. And Rick, if you're still here, let us know what you think.
That would be 3
years. I think heading in then to 2026, you would have to start having that conversation, right?
I think the seat begins to get warm.
Yeah.
And I also think it's how, what happens. Like, do they go back to the college football playoff again and then get boat raced by, like, they got beat by Notre Dame. Let's say they get boat raced by Penn State or something like that. And you're like, you just lost to Notre Dame and Penn State, right? The thing is, and the thing is that Georgia's going to do, here's what Georgia's going to, they're so predictable, guys. The playoffs are so much harder because we play in the SEC and it's just such a harder conference. Like, you're going to hear that narrative, right? Like, that's totally.
But they're going to play 9 conference games, Eric.
But check this out. This is what's really unique. Let's say Alabama doesn't make the college football playoff again this year. I think DeBoer's on the hot seat.
100%.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a reason. There's a reason when you talk about those 2 schools specifically. And it comes down to one thing: Nick Saban. Nick Saban set the expectation.
He's a Woody Hayes to them.
He is their Woody Hayes at Alabama, but also the guy that Kirby came from.
Bama has 2 Woody Hayes, though.
yeah, they have, right? But Kalen DeBoer is Earl Bruce.
Yes.
They will not be happy with 9-3 seasons.
What have you always said when it comes to following the legend? You don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. You want to be the guy that follows him.
Yeah, but he's also following a legend in the era that retired the legend because of the NIL era. Saban didn't want to deal with it. DeBoer's struggling with it. He's even talking about revenue sharing because the LCC schools can't get the money from the alumni that the northern schools seem to be able to do, and that's what's even the playing field.
I fully agree with that, and it's sad to me that it's changed like this, because imagine doing your job, whatever profession you're in. Like, let's say you're trained to be an accountant. You went to school for it. You studied for it. You've been an accountant for 10, 15 years. You're really good at it. And then your boss comes to you and says, your job's changing. You have to figure it out or you're fired. You're going to be our IT person.
Yeah.
You didn't go to school for IT. You're not trained in IT. My analogy here is these guys from the time they're playing, if they play, coaching is GAs all the way up through multiple stops. Any coach, not just DeBoer, not just Kirby, not just Saban. Like, their life has been football playing, football coaching, X's and O's. And now you're being told you got to be the marketing person. You got to be the PR person. Some, like Bielema, embraces it. You've heard him. But like some don't. And you're getting spring games canceled and this and that. Like, there's so much other stuff that's like, oh, I was an accountant, now I'm an IT person. Like, different type of stuff that goes into this job now. But I think, getting back to the Georgia point too, like, I fully agree. It's not like, oh, we're in the toughest conference. No, I just talked about the transfers. Like, things are even. It's just because there's parity in football now. I think Georgia's problem will continue to be Mike Bobo, their OC. He's way too vanilla.
100%.
And thank God I just posted a tweet on X the other day comparing him and Bill O'Brien. So I'm so glad that he got rid of himself because I was fearful for you guys.
He fixed that problem for us.
Yeah.
Well, he's
I had Bryce Young for 2 years and didn't win a national title.
Well, they did have all those injuries that 1 year against Georgia, didn't they? They had like Jalen Waddle and John Mechie, and there was a couple guys. It was Williamson. It was actually a Jamo who got hurt as well. I mean, I kind of give him a pass on that. You lose every receiver on your friggin' roster, it makes it harder. But yeah, but that's the thing is like, does Kirby Smart in 1980 would be safe for the next 20 years? But that's just not how they call us the lunatic fringe. We're not the only ones. Because I remember when we beat Alabama in 2014, people were calling in Paul Feinbaum saying, I think it's Saban's time's over. I just don't see it anymore. Like, really? Because he lost to Urban Meyer? It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you want to get rid of Saban, you idiots? I just think I think every fan base of a team that experiences a lot of success, they get so spoiled they become lunatics.
All right, I'm going to turn the chat off. Hey, hold on. Chat, if you guys don't stop, I'm turning you all off tonight. This is getting ridiculous. In fact, don't super chat a snide comment, Blue Wolverine. Sean, you're a moderator. Show some professionalism. I'm about done with the chat tonight. Grow up or get out. It's that simple. Act your age, people. All right. Chris, go for it.
No, I was going to address the chat if you didn't. I was sitting there looking at it.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We got another topic we want to get to tonight, guys. So some of you might need to see yourself out because you guys just aren't acting your age. You're acting like a bunch of 6-year-olds that my wife teaches. So we're going to do a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will dive into our next topic.
Hey, Buckeye Nation. The OHIO podcast is thrilled to partner with Export Mouthguards, the innovators redefining protection in contact sports. Introducing the Ninja Pro Mouthguard, the strongest and most advanced mouthguard on the market. Engineered by dental experts, it's designed to deliver elite protection with a sleek, low-profile fit. Made with carbon fiber and multi-layer construction, it's impact tested to keep you safe from even the hardest hits. But that's not all. The Ninja Pro is 3D printed for 100% custom fit, offering unbeatable comfort and security for any athlete. From football to MMA, dominate your game with confidence while safeguarding your teeth and jaw. Getting started is easy. Use our home impression kit to create your custom fit and enjoy prepaid shipping. It's protection delivered right to your door. Plus, with a 1-year warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee, and proudly made in the USA, the Ninja Pro is your ultimate defense on the field or in the ring. And here's the best part. When you visit exportguards.com, use promo code OHIO at checkout to get 20% off your purchase. That's right, 20% off elite protection made just for you. Protect your game, protect your future. Choose Export Ninja Pro Mouthguards, where innovation meets protection. Head to exportguards.com and use promo code OHIO today.
The OHIO podcast is brought to you by Mastermind. Mastermind specializes in 360-degree high-definition mobile video mapping, GIS integration, and traffic safety studies. Mastermind cares about traffic safety and keeping you safe on the roadway. Visit Mastermind at onlinemastermind.com. All right, let's try to wrangle this thing back in.
Eric?
Yeah.
Did you just lay the hammer on Michigan?
I did. More than what the NCAA is going to do, apparently. So I'm literally, anybody else want to mention anything else? You're next. That's how it's going to go tonight. If you're not going to straighten up and you're not going to play nice, just leave tonight. That's how it's going to be. Sarah's on the job, so I'll just have her kicking people out left and right if that's how we're going to be tonight. All right, moving on. Let's talk about our next topic because, man, we had some good topics tonight, guys, and we had a great guest on, and you're all making me upset. All right, spring games. Are they becoming obsolete? This is going to be so we have Nebraska, right? And Nebraska's like, hey, we're going to cancel spring ball. And then Ohio State came out and they said, we're going to have a spring showcase. Not really sure what that is. We're going to find out. What is there's another one who canceled, wasn't there? Who else canceled?
Actually, I've got a list here.
Okay, go for it, Chris.
So in the Big Ten, you've got Ohio State, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, and USC. In the SEC, we've got Alabama, Missouri, Texas, and Ole Miss. ACC, Florida State, and NC State both canceled theirs. BYU and Arizona. Arizona has also taken on the moniker of Spring Showcase. They have canceled theirs as well. So that's a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 teams that have canceled so far.
They're as healthy as ever. What are you talking about, Eric?
Didn't it kind of, thanks for that list. That's awesome. Didn't it kind of stop at, or is it still kind of going? Like people canceling?
It's still going. I think the most recent one was canceled last week.
Okay.
So it could still continue. But I don't like it, but I like it. For me, just to throw this out there, I think it does a couple things. First of all, Eric, you've said it, and I've agreed. I think we learn more by watching a practice and some of the skills competition type stuff
completely
than we do by watching them go out and play a faux game, seconds versus firsts or whatever, It doesn't do a whole lot for me. The other thing is you've got the long season right now. They're talking about extending it even longer with another round of playoffs, right? So it would actually, if you cancel spring ball or the spring game, you could switch around, move your workouts a little later. You could maybe even start the season earlier if you wanted to give yourself room to move that. Because let's all agree on this, I think. Would you guys not say that the worst part about the 12-team playoff is the timing? I mean, people griped about the viewership being down. Well, hell yes, the viewership's down. You're running into the NFL playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it seems like go ahead, cut the spring game out, push the start of actual spring ball back a little, maybe. Then you take and slide the start of the season forward a couple weeks. Maybe we start mid-August. And now this is the thing about it. It's going to suck in one regard that you're not going to have students on campus. That part's going to stink. But it gives you more flexibility with what to do come that extended playoff time. I feel like it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Several people in the chat have brought up the fact that what stinks about the spring game being canceled is that it offered families an opportunity to go watch Ohio State football at a cheaper price than a regular season game. And that is
That's
something
true.
that I think is kind of lost on this situation, that we need to take into account. Bobby Mack with a $5 super chat. Do you think these teams canceling are doing to keep kids from transferring out so they won't know as definitively where they are on the depth chart? I've heard that question being asked, but I still think kids kind of know where they are on the depth chart because all the same things are still going on behind the scenes that there always have
Right.
been. And in a lot of ways, this as our good friend Mike Wargo says, the spring game is like the Super Bowl for walk-ons, man. You get
Well,
to
of which
play
there
in
are
the
no more.
well, that's true too. There aren't any more of them either. Yeah. So, but even the spring game's getting more expensive. $15 a ticket.
For
For a
Columbus?
showcase.
Mm-hmm. $15
Wow.
a ticket. Like it's like it used to be $8 a ticket, $7 a ticket.
Yeah.
Now it's up to
I paid
15.
$5 and $19 when I came up to Ohio.
Did you?
Yeah.
It was only $8 when we started doing our spring tailgates, I think.
Yeah. So it's even $15 a ticket is what some of the bowl games were going for that they couldn't fill seats for. Like the famous Idaho Bowl, they're like, we'll give you a free drink and a popcorn if you pay us $2 for the ticket, right? Like, so there's
Midnight
plenty of.
Mayhem.
So I don't know, man. Like, is this trend going to continue, Cory?
Yes. We're in a new era now, and it's just different. Everything's different. I don't know if I buy the excuse necessarily. It's about not getting kids on film to where they want to transfer. I mean, I could see that being a possibility because they're on film. They get on TV, they get on film, and all of a sudden, some of the coach starts tampering. So, I think I think if
Daylighting.
No, Oregon never does that. That's just their culture, Chris. That's all it is. It's their culture. Nothing to do with money or tampering. Anyway, I think if Matt Rule is right on that, then yeah, I could see why they're saying, no, I don't want you all to see my kids play because you're going to start talking to them, their uncles or whatever, and then try to get them to move, even though we have plans for them. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to address the situation where it's cheaper for families to go see a game. I am as avid a Buckeye fan as you'll find. I'm in Florida. I don't get to go to Columbus games. The only game I've been to in the shoe has been Notre Dame at Ohio State 2022. The only game I've ever seen in the shoe. And it was a good one. It was pricey. It was like $300, but it was great. It was worth it. I mean, I came to the shoe for the first time ever in 2019, Justin Fields' first year with Ohio State. Going into that spring game, paid $5.
That was an awful spring.
Chris, thank you. You're 100% correct. I came in there. I loved seeing my friends. I loved seeing family that I have in Ohio. I loved hanging out with people. I saw the shoe for the first time in person in my life. I literally had tears in my eyes walking around it. It was because it was the Mecca for me. And it was the most boring experience of my life. I'd never do it again.
You're the walk around the shoe was more experience.
What was Fields in that game? What, he like 3 for 14 or something?
Like he was terrible. Matt Baldwin was bad. It was just terrible. No tackling really, and it was just like the game itself was horrific to watch. So we went to Roosters afterwards with a bunch of friends and had a great time. But the game itself, I'd rather just go to Ohio to see friends. I don't even want to see that game. So when they started like minimizing it and they're kindly getting rid of it, I couldn't care less. Get rid of the stupid thing. It's a glorified scrimmage. It's just 7-on-7. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. And I'm also sick of fans saying, man, look at that wide receiver playing really well against the 4-string corner. Man, I think if Ryan Day don't play him, he's an idiot. You know, it's just like, okay, guys, they've been watching practices for 2 months now. Would you calm down? Remember Bam Childress was going to be a star because of the spring game. That was a big thing. I'm done with it. I've been done with it for years. I don't even watch it hardly at all. I watch highlights, and I'm good with that. But now that they're getting rid of it, good. Let's just get rid of it and stop with all pretense.
If they run it like the practice that they have for the fans, that's the open practice, you actually get to learn.
That would be more fun. That would be more fun.
You get to learn more about the team. And the 7-on-7 stuff, the 7-on-7 stuff is very interesting because you get to watch the receivers and corners go one-on-one with each other. You get to see their skill set on display. And then, yeah, it's not good for the running game but when you're playing glorified 2-hand tap, what is a running game anyways?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not real football. Chris and Eric show up to the Michigan spring game. Johnny Olden Jr., Mays Madman Maniac, and Blue Wolverine are all showing up, and me as well.
way.
Everyone on Voice of College Football showing up as well. Chris?
There is no way in hell. First of all, because I don't have enough money for bail right now because we just haven't got the super chats. You know, I mean, the guys from the Voice of College Football, they don't even they've locked me out anyhow. They don't like me too much because I call them out for the crap that they are.
Petey, what's the spring game look like at Syracuse?
So it has been normal forever. I used to go as a kid, and that was an exciting moment for me, right? Because you're starved for football by that point. And, my dad would take my sister and I, and it was like the first feeling of like excitement. But again, just like any other school, you don't really learn anything. I mean, these coaches, even if the game's televised, aren't going to roll out their best plays, right? It's like NFL preseason. They're not going to showcase their best plays, their best players necessarily. Like if you are, to your guys' point, no matter the school, showcasing a guy in a game and he's having a good spring game, well, that probably means that he's not showing out in practice because they're not going to utilize as much the guys that are showing out in practice day to day, right? I think as well, like some ways to, my answer is I don't think they should eliminate the spring games. I think there's ways that they can re-emphasize them. I understand why coaches like Rule and everything feel like they need to cancel, but one thing they could do is change or cancel the spring portal window. I say that because the wintertime fall or winter transfer portal, I forget what they call it. That's the one where the premier talent anyways is coming in, right? A lot of these spring guys are just like figuring out, oh shoot, I'm third on the depth chart. If they graduate in the spring, okay, cool. You can still transfer, right? Academically anyways. But then also like what you could do, so you cancel the spring portal, then guys like Rule who are using canceling because they feel like they're going to get guys poached, that's no longer a thing. Also, I heard this idea from, I forget who it was. It wasn't my idea a while ago, but if you, in theory, canceled the spring portal to give the spring games appeal again, scheduled against an FCS opponent. I'm not even talking group of 5, but like going a level down, like let's say, I don't know, like Chattanooga, right, plays Ohio State. It'd be pretty cool, really cool for Chattanooga, right, if it's at the shoe, presumably. And then for Ohio State to have like a tune-up, so to speak, and to get like actual like semi-meaningful reps would be a good thing. And then again, too, I've heard this, you guys alluded to it, like that closed door scrimmage later on that a lot of teams do, not in the spring, but in like fall camp and stuff, that's when you really find out, right? Like who's who and, the real stuff. I think like Bama had a good idea too. Yes, they canceled it. And Kalen DeBoer said it's going to be like modified. They're still going to do a form of it, but there's going to be no cameras. The only people that are going to see it are the people in attendance in Tuscaloosa. So that's kind of a middle ground way to do it, but just some thoughts and ideas that I had around it.
I think the whole portal thing with the spring game has been blown out of proportion. Just to be honest with you, because I think a lot of the guys who are going to jump in the portal after spring are they're going to do so regardless. Now, yeah, so you televise your spring game and a freshman gets out there and flashes, and then all of a sudden he's being tampered with. You don't think that kid's already not being tampered with? He's already. I promise you, he's being tampered with already. I promise you, he is. It just so he gets on the Big Ten Network and he had a nice catch, and all of a sudden now he's going to make a few more $1,000. Like I don't know, man. To me it seems like it was an overreach a little bit by some of these programs, but there's got to be something in it, or they wouldn't all be doing it.
They haven't liked having it for years.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I don't think the spring game is something that these coaches have been wanting for a long time. The risk of injury, I think, to them scares them more than anything. The body's only got so many hits in it, and it's like, do we really want to waste it on a spring game? That's why
Right.
the starters are never tackling
Well, Eric,
at Ohio State.
To your point, we're in a 12-team playoff right now. Eventually expanded to 16. These guys are playing these expanded seasons, and like you said, there's a limited number of hits to be had. So it makes good sense to do away with them. And I like the showcase idea. I think it's going to be more fun. Let's face it, the only thing we've learned at a spring game, Eric, is that I tend to forget all the barbecue tools.
Yeah. Right.
And
who brought the tongs?
And you can tell just how bad the offensive line is. Those are the two things we've ever learned at a tailgate.
The last 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row. Who brought the tongs? Who forgot the tongs again? Where are the tongs? And man, I'm really disappointed in the offensive line. I mean, that's literally the spring game tailgate every year at the OHIO podcast. This year it's not, though. You know why?
It's not. Because we got a natty.
We are going to have
and we're going to have tools.
We're going to have tongs. We're going to remember tongs.
Not
and
only that,
we're going to have a
Eric,
good offensive line this year.
Not only that, but I've talked to Bobby. We're bringing the Blackstone this year.
Oh, Nelly. All right. This is a good time as any to remind you all about our big spring game or spring showcase celebration over at the shoe. We will let you all know as it gets closer where the location is, the time, etc. We want to celebrate with all of you guys. We're going to celebrate the national championship that day. We want all of you to come be a part of that with us. If you're able to make it to the shoe, let's celebrate together. We'd love to meet all of you and shake your hand and take a photo with you. We appreciate that. Any last thoughts, guys, on the spring game cancellations that you guys have?
I mean, maybe not. I mean, I kind of want to go off of what Chris was saying about the timing of the playoff. I mean, it affects the spring game, of course, but I also want to bring Petey in this conversation, and I don't mean any disrespect like this, because obviously, Syracuse isn't competing for the playoff every year, but say if they shorten the regular season by 2 years, would programs like Syracuse be upset by that? Because then all of a sudden it's 10 games instead of 12 games, and you're getting less football. But if you shorten the regular season by 2 games, then you could foreseeably get the playoff sooner, and then that gives them more time to heal, things like that. But that seems like, as I'm saying it, I understand. It seems like it just favors like Georgia's and the Ohio States of the world.
Because you're saying we wouldn't have as much time to prove ourselves as a team that's not going to be ranked high preseason.
It'd be tougher for that for sure,
Yeah.
And it would also, in case you don't go to like you say you're where you're 4-4 and you got 2 games left instead of 4 games. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm not trying to rip Syracuse. I'm just saying, like, in those years, do you get upset because, I wanted more football and I'm not going to get a playoff?
Right. Right. So. Yeah, that makes sense.
But
go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, but what else might help fix that is the proposed switching the championship weekend to contenders weekend to help them get in the playoff.
That could work. I'm just trying to. I agree with Chris. There's a problem with the timing. I'm trying to solve it on the seat of my chair here. Like,
so Ross
how do you solve it?
Ross Bjork talked about this on his last recent interview on The Fan, and they are discussing a lot of things right now. Mainly the SEC and the Big Ten are discussing some things, and they're trying to include the NCAA on this as well a little bit. But one of the things that
how nice of them.
Yeah, right. Hey, they're basically going to use the NCAA how they want to use the NCAA is what's going to happen. But the transfer portal window has to change. Mm-hmm. It has to. They know it has to change. The early signing period has to change. Yes. Having that signing period in December when you're trying to do a playoff is insane. That is absolutely 100% the dumbest thing the NCAA has done. They're like, oh no, we're going to make the early signing period for the players. No, they did. Like,
I'm really surprised none of the coaches blamed that on playoff losses, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, like, exactly. So that's going to change. It has to change, right? Like I think the early signing period gets bumped up to summer. So before the season even starts, probably in
Actually makes
July.
sense before the season. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you
Yeah.
truly want to sign and they offer you a scholarship to sign and you sign going into your senior year, you're locked in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and it makes more sense for those guys who are going to come in camp or come in winter quarter
Yeah.
or winter semester
Yeah.
The ones who get to
register early.
graduate early.
Yeah.
There's so many that are coming in early now. I saw that the Under Armour All-American game is now accepting juniors in high
Yes.
school to play. So it's like going back. But I think
When's the first sixth grader get a Scully offer?
Right.
No.
No. What's Braxton's kids? He's
Braxton Miller's kid got one, and he was
fifth grade, something like
I
that.
think so.
Yeah.
We don't even recognize college football anymore.
No, it wasn't Ohio State that offered.
Hugh
him.
Freeze alluded to this. It was not a playoff game. Somebody just stated that. When's a coach going to blame it? But he did last year, 2 years ago now. Auburn played a toilet bowl game. They finished 6-6 regular season. Hugh said because of the portal window and recruiting and having to prep for the bowl game, he literally neglected the bowl game and made it his least priority because it was a non-college football playoff bowl game, to be fair. But he basically blamed Auburn's loss in that bowl game on his then fired him after Phil Montgomery OC. Said he was responsible for the offensive game planning. So, it needs to go and change because these coaches are just spread too thin. They're having to prioritize. Like Saban said it. Like, remember 2 years ago, they were about to play Michigan, and they were asking him about the recruiting class, and he's like, or transfer portal or something. And he's like, I don't know. I'm preparing for a football game right now, which I really applauded that comment in the moment, right, in a presser, because that's what it used to be. Before 95% of guys were signing early to come on campus and for bowl prep practices, but it's not how it is anymore.
So, what about Marshall? Marshall's coach leaves after the regular season.
Whole team transfer.
And half the team jumps in the transfer portal, and they don't have a roster. They don't have a large enough roster to even go play the bowl game.
Yeah.
Right.
How disappointing is that? Like that has got to change. And of course, my idea of moving bowl games to week 0 might help with that somewhat. But I understand people's hesitation on that because it's like, well, you're not really rewarding those who earned the bowl game to begin with. But guys, half that team they won a bowl opportunity to go to a bowl game. They're like, yeah, I'm going to move on.
Eric, but something all four of us on here can relate to. I mean, Ohio State, Missouri.
Yeah.
Kyle McCord transfers before the bowl game.
Right.
How much did that affect that team?
Right.
100%. They probably win with Kyle McCord starting, yeah. Or if Devin Brown doesn't get hurt, whichever.
So you're saying, Eric, week 0 of the following year?
So my idea was if you made a bowl game but you're not in the college football playoff, because the college football playoffs has got the New Year's 6 bowls, and those are going to continue to be there. But let's say you make whatever bowl, the Boca Raton Bowl, the Boca Raton Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Then week 0 of next season is when the Boca Raton Bowl is played.
Yeah.
And so it's an extra game. Yes. Does it count? Yes. It's week 0. But so you have 13 regular season games next year. But my idea behind it was this twofold. You now can have bowl games in northern climates because it's warmer.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden that opens up a whole slew of new cities to these bowls. So you have that. You have full rosters, so it's not like and then you don't have sit outs because it's the first game of the year. So no one's going to sit out because it's game number 1, baby. So that's kind of my thinking behind why to me, it's how you save bowl season, because bowl season is going to die. It is absolute. If we try to keep what we're going to do, bowl season is going to die. But I think week 0 becomes a week-long celebration of football for the teams that were successful the previous year. You earn the right to go to a bowl and play in week 0 the next year. That's my idea.
Yeah, that comments. You nailed it. Commissioner Boggs in the house.
Hey, listen, I'm passionate enough about this. I know I could
awesome.
do better than most of the idiots who are running the college football playoff.
I did a episode on 6 ways to make bowl games matter again. That was not one of them. I really like that idea. It reminds me a little bit of English soccer, the Premier League. Like, I don't know if you get, I don't know, I'm not an expert on it, but I'm pretty positive whoever makes their like Champions League or whatever is technically like the following year. So a similar like model, like the rosters at that point may be somewhat different. So, and also like, let's be honest, college football usually has a bunch of irrelevant cupcake games in week 0 and week 1. So that's awesome. You're getting...
And think about this. So, like, you know, just how bowl season is. You've got games at noon and then 1 and 3. And imagine all week long. It's like that.
Okay,
like,
cool.
It's a week-long celebration of college football.
That's cool.
And I think it would be the cat's man.
College basketball really does that with Maui and all those tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got another vote for commish. There we go. I'll keep taking those votes.
I thought you were running for governor.
What's that?
I thought you were running for governor.
Oh no, I would lose in a heartbeat, man.
Why?
Vivek's running.
Oh yeah.
Hey, ain't no one beating Vivek, dude. Come on.
I think Tressel could beat him if he ran.
Nah, Tressel ain't gonna run.
I know he's like 80 years old now, but whatever.
He's that vest is sitting in that office just so he can add another check mark to like, hey, this is pretty cool. You know, I'm all about that. So anything else? There was one other thing I thought that I was gonna bring up, and now it's escaped my mind tonight because I thought that was pretty relevant to what we were talking about, but now I forget it. See if I can remember it in the next couple seconds.
Successfully derailed. Yep, my job here's done.
Hey, Eric. Yeah. Tyler, I'm intrigued by this question. Tyler Caressley said, here's my question. What was the original purpose of the spring game in retrospect? Do any of you guys remember?
Yeah. So
Google magic.
No, back in the day, the spring game was basically used, and it was a real game, dude. Like, it was really played, and they would draft 2 teams, and the losing team would have to do. Now, this is Ohio State's tradition, okay? The losing team would have to mulch Buckeye Grove, so they actually put them to work. And they got hot dogs. Okay. The winning team didn't have to mulch Buckeye Grove, and they got steak. So, but the whole purpose behind the spring game was they literally would open up the shoe, and at the time I think it was free, wasn't it, Chris? I think it was.
Yeah.
It didn't cost you anything.
Initially, it was free. Yeah.
And it was basically just a scrimmage, and it caught fire. Like, people, more and more people started to come, and eventually they started charging for it. Burke says, I think Michigan started the annual spring game. Let's if he's right, I will. If you're right, Burks,
I'm on it, Eric.
Okay, who started the original spring game in college football? Let's find out.
That's cool.
Let's find out. Sage says my first spring game was 1979, and they played. Yeah.
Michigan's first spring game was 1925.
Holy, they might have. Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm reading it right now. Yep. First went public in 1925.
Harvard
did, yes, May 14th, 1925.
Harvard started it, but I don't know Michigan.
Okay. Well, Michigan views themselves as the Harvard of the Midwest.
Okay, theirs was the first open to the public spring game.
Okay. All right.
Ohio State wasn't until 1946.
Partial credit to Burks. Okay.
Harvard, 1889 was the original spring scrimmage.
So
we're killing tradition, is what Chris is saying.
Yeah. Oh shoot! That's funny. That's funny. Don't forget, guys, if you haven't already, smash that like button. Make sure that you go over to, as Chris pointed out, go over to the website, theohiopodcast.com. Click on the store link. Get yourself the Podfather t-shirt or sweatshirt. If you buy one, make sure if you are a Podsquad member that you put the secret code in so you get free shipping. If you don't have that, email the show, theohiopodcast@gmail.com. We will email you back that code so you can get free shipping. If you happen to get a Podfather shirt or a sweatshirt, take a picture of yourself in it for me and send that to me. I'd get a kick out of that.
And guys, I highly suggest before you go on, just subscribe. Just subscribe. It's $3.99. I promise you, shipping is going to cost you more than $3.99.
Yes, it absolutely will. Bobby Mack with a $2 holler. Is a spring game turning into the Pro Bowl? Yes.
No,
Yes.
well, I mean, yes, but at least colleges are recognizing that it's as useless as the Pro Bowl, and the NFL just keeps trying and trying and trying and trying. And nobody watches it. Nobody cares. And in fact, I think it's funny when they call a football player a Pro Bowler. It's like, yeah, you're probably the 9th on the list, so who cares?
Hey, this is kind of separate, but since you're talking NFL, I like that comparison. Amanda Bance, huge Ohio State fan, and on X. On the NFL level, she had a good idea about, instead of the Pro Bowl, having alumni from the top 4 colleges with the most alumni in the NFL at that time. And it alluded to Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, and there was like a 4th, just as examples. Having those people, those players from those teams match up against each other at the end of the season. Like, would those guys want to do it? I think they would. Like, you'd suit up again, Justin Fields and whoever else. I think like other guys from Ohio, Garrett Wilson, right? Like other guys from Ohio State, Zeke, if he's somehow still in the league. Like, how cool would that be to go up against Georgia alumni?
Could you field a team to do it, though?
Yeah, probably not.
I've often thought that if a smart investor in Columbus was serious about making money, he would join whatever semi-pro league we have going on now, XFL, USFL,
and just get
whatever,
former Ohio State players.
and literally fill his roster with nothing but former Buckeyes and play in Columbus. Cool. And I'm telling you, we would all buy tickets to that.
It would rock.
We would fill that thing off. Bobby Mack wants to know if I will autograph the Podfather shirt. Chris, we could probably make that happen, couldn't we?
Well, we could probably make that happen. Yeah. We could get orders together, and maybe on the weekend I could drive down and have you do that if you wanted to, or if they want to do them for the spring game, just make sure you bring it with you to the spring game. We can do that as well. Next, Eric, we are working on the Doctor's In.
Oh, the Doctor's In. The house call.
I got to get a good headshot of Cory for that one.
The house call t-shirt. Cory making a house call.
And then Bobby's still trying to find some way to.
All right, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Cory, when we get Dr. Cory makes house calls t-shirt, we need to send one to Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
Let her model that thing for us.
Are you trying to break us up?
Hey, Aaron. Aaron sent a gift to you and I, Chris. I got it today. Yes, I received it today. I opened it right before I came up here, or I would have brought it up with me. We have a gift from Aaron, Chris. It's going to be going on the wall behind me. Mine is, and you've got one coming your way too. Super awesome. Cool. They are Buckeye plaques that he makes. Nice. I've got a great idea for mine, and so thank you so much, Aaron. We really do appreciate that. Also, it was great timing for our 6-year anniversary, dude, on the podcast for that to come in, man. Really appreciate that. Anything else, guys? Oh, yes. Peter, tell us where we can find you again, man. One more time.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Good to talk to you guys. I really liked being on here. Pigskin Petey podcast on YouTube is where you can find me. SaturdayBlitz.com is my written work. I write about and cover college football and pro football, just a fan. Recently, as an example, podcast I did one on the 2026 NFL mock draft, because I feel like at draft time, we're always Googling Well, you know what? Is there any out? Like, and there's one or two random ones usually, which is what mine is, but I just have fun with it. So, anyways, that's where you can find me, some of what I do. So, thank you guys.
Steely Matt wants to know how Lisa's doing, Cory.
She's doing good. She back in LA today, actually.
All right, man. You gotta interview her. Do an interview of her for us.
Oh gosh. I do want to add though, we to Eric's credit, Chris's credit, whoever is booking everybody, Petey, man, you're in a long line of really great guests we've had on there. I've enjoyed talking with you and talking with the guests that we've been lining up, and it's been a lot of fun, a lot of great insights, Petey. I really have enjoyed your takes on everything.
Thank you. Thanks for Kyle McCord. It worked out for us.
Now listen. Okay,
except
all right.
versus Pitt.
Oh my goodness! All right, I'm gonna sit back.
Yes.
Listen, Petey, we do a Thursday night call-in show. Okay, we are sitting here on the call-in show watching the game
Right.
live. And I'm like, the chat is blowing up because it's another pick six, another pick six.
Yeah.
It was,
I guess, like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish your thought.
So yeah, that was wild, right? The Pitt game.
Yeah.
And I did not know because I did not watch film on Kyle. I just knew he was a former 5-star, Ohio State starting quarterback, 11-1, all that stuff. And I'm watching that game. And after the game, I had Ohio State fans that I communicate with on X saying, yeah, like this is when you pressured him at all at Ohio State, this is what happened.
That's
so
true.
Good on Pitt and Narduzzi for having the blueprint. And that's why, even as a Q's fan, that's precisely why I'm not high on Kyle McCord as an NFL QB. Because the guys are just going to be, it's all Ohio State level speed and talent, right, at that level. So...
Okay,
he can't move. Yeah, he can't move in the pocket.
Since you brought it up, all right, Petey. If you're an NFL GM, are you? And it comes down to McCord or Howard.
Oh boy,
who are you drafting and why?
Will Howard. When the pressure was on, guys, he was nails in those playoffs.
Yeah, nails. Baby.
The combine absolutely said otherwise, but even Shadur came out and defended him, said he didn't have his receivers. Like, he didn't have his guys. That's freaking tough. Give him credit for even trying. But I can't get past, guys, what you said. I understand McCord, in the regular season, he was leading the FBS in passing. Like, yes, it worked out for both parties. It worked out for Ohio State, and it worked out for Syracuse. But Narduzzi put an NFL defensive scheme on the field, and look what happened. That's your blueprint. That's your blueprint. And he's got zero mobility. Not only did Howard thrive when it really counted, when the pressure was on, but he also has some mobility.
If you give Will Howard McCord's arm, he's probably easy top 15 pick.
Yeah, I agree.
Good point.
Madamus, dude, just dropped. That is harsh. If they call it intentional grounding in the NFL, he'll kill it.
Yep, no doubt.
That's harsh. Oh boy. Natural. Oh boy.
No doubt.
Yeah, I Shane, is it Toller or Taller? Shane, he said, where did he say this? He said, I need to be on next, dude. Well, Shane, email at me, man. I'd love to get to know you, my man. The OHIO podcast at gmail.com. I'll put that in the chat for you all so you all have it. What our email address is so that you can email me at any time. And yeah, just send me an email. Let me know if you're a podcaster or a former coach or player. I'd love to get to know you, man. Let's see here. In closing, Steely Matt says Wargo. I think someone else said it too. Andre, yeah. We need to get Mike Wargo back on the show. Yeah, Mike Wargo is a huge fan, a friend of ours. Wargo is going to be at the tailgate, guys. So you will get to meet Wargo in person if you come to our tailgate. He will be there to sign autographs, meet all of you, take pictures. Wargo is a giant human being. If you watch the preview video, which we will close in closing here at the end again for you all, there's a picture of Chris and Wargo. And Chris
and I'm not tiny.
And Wargo.
I am not near as tiny as I look.
It's like that picture of me and
Pace.
Orlando Pace, where
Pace,
I'm like Hi. I look like a midget. Anyways, yeah, dude, great show tonight. Thank you so much, Petey. A lot of people giving you flowers in the chat for coming on. Appreciate you having coming on tonight. Go check out his YouTube channel, everybody. Pigskin Petey. And give the guy some love. Subscribe to his channel. He does, like I said, college football from coast to coast, man. He talks about all of it, guys. And that's one of the things I love is getting some different perspective from people. I know we have a lot of Ohio State stuff on this. And this is an Ohio State show, but it's good sometimes to get perspective about us from people who are on the outside. And he joins Heather on her podcast too. So that's how I got to learn who he was. And Heather's we're big fans of Heather on this podcast. So it was great to have you on. Thank you so much, everybody who finally calmed down in the chat tonight. We appreciate everybody who was there and participated. We broke a record for kicking people out tonight.
Yeah.
I think
a lot of fun.
3 or 4.
A lot of fun.
So,
we'll see what happens tomorrow night, Eric.
Yeah, tomorrow night's call-in show will be interesting.
Well,
check that.
It's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to talk Michigan fans and their claim to the 2025 national title.
Oh, okay. So tune in tomorrow night for Chris's first ever call-in show. Now it's not he filled in for me a couple weeks ago, but Chris is going to be going solo tomorrow, and then the doctor's going to be making house calls here on out, guys. So be on the lookout for that one. Buckeye Therapy coming at you when you least expect it. You'll hear a knock on the door. And you're like, who's here soliciting at my house? You'll open the door, and there will be Dr. Cory in your inbox saying, hey, did you ring the bell? Because that's why I'm here to give you some Buckeye Therapy.
Can we send him around like Ed McMahon with the big checks?
Yes, let's do that.
Except we'll send him around with like podcast merch.
It's a big prescription, right?
And then they got to listen to me for an hour.
Sit down. Lay down on your couch. All right, guys. Have a great night, everybody. Remember, be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. Sing Carbon, Ohio, with all your heart. Till next time, guys. You know what to do. OH.
Oh.
Go Bucks. Here's that intro for y'all again tonight. Take care, everybody.